The defense has officially launched their case at the Collins County Courthouse, and the entire strategy hinges on Texas self-defense laws. Attorney argued Karmelo acted in a split second of fear during the tragic track meet altercation, emphasizing that Austin Metcalf made the first physical contact. But with prosecutors arguing the incident was provoked, will this self-defense claim actually hold up? Let's break down the defense's strategy, key witness testimony, and what it means for the rest of the highly publicized trial. Now listen, you guys, when I tell you this is the craziest case I've ever covered, please believe me. So we're going to go over what was talked about briefly yesterday and then go over what they're talking about on the stand right now. And then I'm going to talk about what the rumors are. I mean, oh my goodness, it's really a lot going on. Well, first, let's start out by saying the judge ordered everyone to come in on Saturday. That is highly unusual. We can only take that to mean he wants to speed this process up as fast as he can. So yesterday, after 21 witnesses, the prosecution finally wrapped everything up. They are done. And then they brought on 12 witnesses yesterday. These were other students that were in the vicinity at the time that everything went down. But the craziest thing about this is they all had the story except for one student. He admitted that Karmelo was sitting down and he was surrounded by students, okay? And that Metcalf was standing over him. That's very, very crucial. We'll get to that in a minute. The rest of them basically said that Karmelo was the aggressor and he had no business being in that tent in the first place because they have a very strict, not policy or no law, but it's normal, I'll put it that way, for you to remain under your own tent. Now, let's listen to what the newscaster has to say. Now, remember, there's only 9 local news reporters in that courtroom. And I find it very odd that this news reporter is reporting what happened from her car as if she was a blogger. It was very strange, but listen to what she had to say.
After calling 21 witnesses, the state has rested its case against Karmelo Anthony. During today's rare Saturday testimony, prosecutors rested without calling Austin Metcalf's twin brother Hunter to the stand. Anthony's experienced defense team now setting out to prove this was a justified killing. First, we heard from more teen witnesses to this traumatic event on April 2nd, 2025. Now, one thing's apparent, their recollections vary greatly in some cases. Also today, only the jury got to see graphic images of Austin Metcalf's autopsy. The medical examiner detailing that the folding knife with a 3.5-inch blade caused an unsurvivable gaping hole in the 17-year-old's chest. It was 2 inches long and penetrated 2.5 inches into Metcalf's chest, into his heart. Back to the teen witnesses. They remembered different words being used that day, including cuss words between both boys. Some said the witness's twin brother was involved in just the verbal altercation, though they agree Anthony provoked Austin into getting physical, no one imagining that he was really armed, including the victim. One important witness said he was weirded out when Anthony, a stranger, randomly sat down next to him, only saying, "Crazy weather, huh?" To which he agreed but went back to his phone. That teen said that moments later, it was not Austin but another teammate who first noticed Anthony and asked, "Who is this guy?" To which Anthony said, "I'm a nobody," which he found disrespectful. More teammates repeatedly demanded he leave, but no one ganged up on Anthony, they say. We also heard from a teen prosecutors call the common denominator between Anthony and Memorial, who interestingly immediately looked to distance himself from any real friendship with the defendant despite lots of picture evidence to the contrary. Centennial's track coach also testifying, saying they didn't bring their team tent despite the rain because they didn't have enough students to put it up.
Now, as you know, this case has been extremely polarizing. Basically, blacks against the whites. And there's all kind of videos surfacing on the internet, basically painting Karmelo as a thug, and some even using the N-word, like in this video that I edited out. And this video is basically saying this N-word deserves to be locked up. I put it very mildly, okay? And I feel like whatever side you're on, if you're on the black side or white side, people have a tendency to villainize the entire race. Like if you don't like black people, you think all black people are thugs. If you don't like white people, and I've heard this weekend, they're saying that the two races need to be segregated. Don't go around white people. You can't trust them. This is real, okay? I'm giving you real commentary on what people are saying. But you cannot villainize an entire race. You have to remember, there are bad people in every race and there are good people in every race. Because there are some white people now coming forward saying, this story doesn't make any sense. And it feels like Karmelo is being set up.
Media is intentionally doing dishonest reporting about what is going on in the trial of Karmelo Anthony. They're conveniently not going into the details and the inconsistencies in the witness's testimony, but luckily I was able to find somebody on Reddit who was actually detailing what each of the witnesses were testifying to. So allow me to paint you the picture of what I believe actually happened. I went through each of the witnesses' testimonies, and it's very clear that not everybody had a clear picture of what happened. So on the day of the stabbing, it started pouring down rain, which caused a delay in the track meet. Very common for athletes. And each of the schools seemingly brought their own tents and set them up so that the people could sit underneath them. Karmelo's coach testified that they did not have a tent, that it was actually coming later with a second bus, and they didn't have enough students to justify bringing a tent at that moment, so they didn't have a place to shelter from the rain. Anthony apparently was friends with one of the kids from the tent. Several people saw he and Anthony dap up, greeting each other, and seemingly Karmelo Anthony, while he was in the tent, made some joke about "y'all are ass," referring to their football team. The friend, who weirdly enough denied kind of how close his relationship was with Karmelo Anthony, said that it was a joke. And by the way, Karmelo Anthony is not only the captain of the track team, but he was also captain of the football team. His senior year had been cut short because he had had an injury, a very severe one, and his shoulder was messed up. He had to wear a sling for part of the year. They also don't mention that Karmelo Anthony was already in the tent before the Metcalf twins entered it. It wasn't until the Metcalf twins came to the tent that they seemed to be the ones who had a problem with him being there. And it's pretty inconsistent across the 9 witnesses from the incident about where Austin's brother even was during this. Some said that he was right next to his brother. Some said that he was in the back of the tent. Some said that he was a couple bleachers down. Witness said that they heard Anthony say, "I'm a nobody," when students were asking why he was under their tent. And there doesn't seem to be any consistency on what the words Anthony was saying. And while they're trying to say that Anthony is the aggressor, the person that he was in there seeing literally thought it was funny, and he took out his phone and pretended to record it. I personally don't believe that. No teenager just pretends to record things, especially since one of the witnesses said that after the incident, students were passing around a phone and looking at Anthony's Instagram page, which doesn't make sense. You wouldn't just pass the phone around. You would just ask for the handle and you would go to his Instagram page. What I think they were passing around was the video. I think there was a video and they deleted it because it would have looked bad on Austin. I say that because this person that Anthony was talking to didn't step up and say to the guys, "Hey, he's with me, we're just hanging out talking." And Karmelo's lawyer had to show a bunch of photos of the two together hanging out. They even hang out 3 times in a 3-week period, so they knew each other pretty well. It's clear that Austin specifically did not want Anthony in the tent and was ganging up on him. I think they all were, because both Anthony and Metcalf were frustrated and escalated, according to one of the witnesses. And mind you, there is no policy that these kids can't be in each other's tent. And in fact, there are supposed to be coaches at every tent because it's a bunch of teenagers have nothing to do. So where was the adults, in my opinion? And it didn't start out as a big deal because Austin Metcalf sat down on the bleacher in front of Anthony, which sounds honestly aggressive. He came in, he started antagonizing him, he sat down next to him, they started calling each other bitch. And nobody is consistent with the shoving part. Some say it was a small one-handed shove. Another witness said, and I believe this is the true story, that there was minor pushing for a couple of minutes. That both Austin Metcalf and Karmelo Anthony were angry and aggressive. Several witnesses say that they didn't believe Anthony when he was bluffing, but Metcalf and Anthony were frustrated and it escalated, and some called the shove a nudge. And one of the witnesses, turns out, told the cops that Anthony had told a joke and that Metcalf had pushed on Anthony in a lineman move, which is an inward and upward motion. Some of the witnesses said that both of the Metcalf brothers were ganging up on Anthony. And I think these kids have a very skewed perspective of what defending them was, because they said that Anthony said, "You're not going to move me, you're a bitch." The witness told the jurors Austin was defending us. That's not defending you. I think y'all went through a very traumatic effect, and you can't come to terms with the fact that I think your friend was the aggressor. But you can't say that he deserved it. So obviously this guy has to be the perpetrator. It has to be his fault. It has to be a murder. Some of the kids were giving different statements to the police last year, right after it happened, like not mentioning the cursing. Another witness characterized Austin's putting his hands on Karmelo as a warning. The witnesses across the board all pretty much agreed that this lasted 4 to 6 minutes. If someone is harassing you for 4 to 6 minutes, as a woman, I too would be grabbing my backpack and unfolding the blade in there because things were progressing. This witness said that Austin Metcalf tried to force Anthony out. After Metcalf put his hands on him, that's when he got stabbed. If this had been an actual problem and not just a couple of kids bullying the black kid they didn't know under their tent, then they would have gone and gotten an adult that should have fucking been there to begin with. And that is very obvious on cross-examination of a witness when the lawyer said if Anthony and a friend were outside of the tent, what was wrong with that? And the witness, who was also on the football team and was part of this little group, said it was because of the proximity to the tent. But every witness who saw the stabbing said that Karmelo was sitting on the bleachers and that Metcalf was standing up and pushing him. Anthony never got out of his seat. And not only that, the wound and the blade prove that he did not even try to stab him. He just held it out and Austin went on the blade. You know how I know this? Because the blade itself is 3.5 inches long. Everyone said that Austin leaned in to push him and Karmelo stabbed him. There's no dispute about that. Anthony was sitting, Austin was standing over him, getting ready to shove him, and he goes into the blade. So if the blade was 3.5 inches and the wound was 2 inches deep, people, what does that mean? It means he could not have stabbed at him as Austin was leaning in to shove him. Austin had to have been the one who fell on the blade. I'm sorry, but it seems pretty obvious to me. Like, this is self-defense. How could Anthony be the aggressor if he never fucking moved from his seat? It is literally stand your ground. And all of this could have been avoided if he had just minded his own business or gotten his coach. And the prosecutor kind of proves my point when he asked the doctor if there were any defensive wounds on Austin, and there were none. He already had his hands out to push him. He crossed that physical boundary and fell on that knife. There is never a situation when a person is sitting down and a person is standing up, physically impeding you, that person is not the aggressor. And if this was the opposite, this wouldn't have even been a trial. I have a feeling the defense is going to tell us that there is a documented history of aggression with Austin. Let's face it, the prosecution is resting on racism in this case. That's exactly why they struck all of the black jurors. They are just hoping that they will just gloss over all the inconsistencies in this story because not a single person out of the 9 witnesses that were there had a consistent story. And that's what the media is not telling you.
Now, compare that to the man that said that there's a video of the evidence of what really happened, and what really happened was Karmelo was not the aggressor. And a lot of naysayers are saying, if there's a video out there, how come the defense hasn't presented the video? Well, because the records are sealed, we don't know if they presented it to the judge and he rejected it or not, because the records are sealed, which means no transparency. And not only did he seal the records, did you know that once your records are sealed, it could be sealed forever, only allowing judges and attorneys to have access to the sealed records? And I think sometimes white people get it confused. They think that black people are saying, don't punish Karmelo at all. Like, just let him get off scot-free. No one said that. He did a bad thing that ruined the rest of his life, because it's never okay to unalive somebody. But on the same token, is it okay to send someone to prison for the rest of their lives on a lie? What if it truly is self-defense? Now, I have to wrap this video up because I don't want it to be too long. So I will tell you in another video right after this what went down today inside the courtroom. But I want to end by saying this. My heart goes out to both of the families. I couldn't imagine as a mother what she's going through, and I'm talking about Mrs. Metcalf, losing her son. There's no bigger pain than that. Also, for the Karmelo Anthony side, to have your son framed when it truly was self-defense, Oh my gosh. And now he has to live in a cage for the rest of his life, and they're describing him as some stupid thug. Child, it's a lot. This case, see why I say this case is probably one of the worst that I ever covered? This is terrible. This is terrible. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. Until next time, bye for now.